members that have a question, do we have any?
My name's Terry Clark. I'm out of District 1, I believe it is, Ridgeville Yellow. Thank you so much for your input and your insight on this thing, but I do have first question. You're stating that this is going to use natural gas. I understand that the natural gas, ENG, has already been allocated and has limited supply. Where is that extra supply going to come from?
It's a great question. You obviously do your homework. So you may have seen just in the last few weeks that the local utilities, APS, SRP, and TEP, along with Transwestern Pipeline, which is a gas pipeline, announced a new transmission line from Texas to Arizona that will bring in new natural gas for exactly these purposes. I'd also mention that in the comprehensive plan for Pinal County, it says that your goal or your expectation is to have 18 natural gas plants in the county, and there are, I believe, 4 or 5 today. So this is in keeping, I think, with the county's plans, but also the utilities are making plans right now to get more natural gas into Arizona.
Great, thank you. The next question is, I asked this on the last gentleman who stood in front of us, the archaeologist, because of the Native Americans that were in this area as well as the settlers. Are you going to have an archaeologist go through this location where this is planned to be installed?
Absolutely.
Okay. Next question. You're going to have a lot of birds of prey in there that you're going to be impacting as well. Are you going to make nesting facilities for those birds of prey?
That's a good question. I know that as we go through the process, we certainly will do whatever the environmental consultants recommend. There's also a process when you do a natural gas plant that you have to go through an environmental siting process with the state, with the Corporation Commission, and they often put those requirements on projects too. So I would expect that we'll be doing that.
Now, you also indicated that there was another location that you're coming up here on this 230 line or 220 line or 115 line that you're going to intersect and tie into. In this capacity, I understand you're going to use data centers. Are you also going to install a AA and B bank for the electrical facilities based on the needs of the data center?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, you got me on that one. I don't know enough on the engineering side to know the answer.
AA happens to be from the generation plant that it goes up and goes into AA, which is the top voltage versus down to the low voltage. So that's what I was wanting to know. Will that be installed by the developer?
I guess I would say, I know they're obviously going to install whatever is required to operate the facility safely. I don't know enough about the engineering and the design of that to answer that for you. I'm not sure that that's an issue as far as the comprehensive plan is concerned, but happy to go check that out and get back to you on that.
All right, thank you so much for that. Next question and final question for me. That you say these are going to be gas turbines. Gas turbines make a lot of noise, have an awful lot of exhaust coming out of them. Has that been addressed, and what will be the wind flow and downstream where that exhaust is going to go? You also made a comment that it was going to be a closed system. Are you going to use water cooling towers to cool that water, or how's that going to be mitigated?
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I think there's 2 questions in there. On the gas and emissions, again, that's regulated by the Corporation Commission. Clean burning natural gas is pretty clean. We also know that our neighbors are in favor of the project, which is helpful, and they're aware of what the project is and have expressed support. We'll do whatever the Corporation Commission requires from an environmental standpoint. And then your second question was around the cooling technology.
Yes,
and
it was cool. It's going to be a closed system. Now, if you're going to use an open system, are you going to put shaded balls, those plastic balls, to prevent evaporation on the ponds? But it's going to be a closed, or is it going to be a tower system, or is it going to be a pool system?
So the closed loop system I referenced was with regard to the data centers, not to the gas plant. I'm not sure if you meant to distinguish between the two.
You had made mention that you had people from Tucson here that were environmentalists that were against this. So I wanted to know, to satisfy their need and concern, are you going to have evaporation ponds or ponds that are for cooling ponds for these gas turbines? And if you are going to use gas turbine with cooling ponds, are you going to use those evaporation pond balls to keep the evaporation down, so your minimal cost on the water table?
I understand your question. Sorry, I was thinking about the data center, which is the closed loop system on the side, on the generation side for the thermal plant. There will probably be evaporative ponds involved in that, but the energy or the water usage for a natural gas plant is not a significant usage when you compare it to residential uses, or you compare it to farming uses. They have the right to drill industrial wells there on site.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else got a question?
Hi, thanks for your time. So if I understand,
Name,
my name's Jeannie Stockton. Thank you for your time. As I understand a closed loop system, you drill you drill way down in the ground and you put like an antifreeze material in there, and it picks up the heat from the ground that it goes through. How far down do you have to drill to get cool ground in Arizona?
So that is a question that is not in my wheelhouse, but I think we're making a commitment that we're going to use the system that's not the water-cooled system. We're prepared to make sure that any user on this site uses that technology. I don't know about drilling depths or how that works. I apologize. I couldn't tell you.
next.
My name's Ken Leopard. My two things. One is, and this was asked in the application, I think, when they looked, why, since the green space in the upper, can you bring up that slide that's got the, I don't know, Sangita, if it's yours or his, that shows where in the northwest corner? Sangita had a slide here that showed that open space. Most of that land that you want to have in your, that's all right, keep going.
Other way.
Nope, not there yet.
Going the wrong way.
Nope, not there yet. You had, I saw one where it was nice little green shaded. Where's the? Yeah, well, it says it's gonna be open space, and I heard him say, well, we're gonna leave it open space. And my answer is, then why have it in your property at all? In other words, take it out of your property, take it out of your site plan, because the rest of the trails and everything are open space. That way they're all protected and you're not responsible for any of it. And it doesn't look like you've got a whole lot left over to work around. It's very difficult to develop around open space. I come from a community in which it was done very well over 25 years, but it takes some tap dancing. So why not just take that proposed open space, all right? Now, if they ever close it down or something, annex it, but why not just get rid of it and drop your line down and go along?
So I think that's a good question. So my understanding is there is space on the north side of that open space in the northwest corner, and there's space on the south side, obviously, of it.
Well, I see that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, that's a very small amount of space.
Sure.
It comes with problems, and then there's no guarantee that since you I mean, you can say all you want to that, well, we're gonna honor that, okay? I mean, why not just take it out?
So I think one thing, maybe it'll make you more comfortable, just to make sure I explained it right, is that through this process, if you approve this and then the board of supervisors approves it, you'll actually be changing the comprehensive plan to, not only do we say this is open space, it will be labeled as open space on the comprehensive plan, and you can't do anything else there then. So it's, it is the land, the landowner owns that land, so it's part of their property, and they're willing to set aside that land as open space and designate it so.
Okay, I guess that doesn't answer my question, other than you're saying, we want to keep it, but we'll work with making sure that it's an open space.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I just wanna make sure I'm explaining it right. I think it's a benefit to the county and that it will be forever set aside as open space if it's approved this way. So for whatever that's worth. I'm not sure if your question is asking like if we're really not gonna use it or we're really gonna use it, but we're calling it open space
No,
or
the
something.
question was brought up
Okay.
in some of the documentation here.
Got it.
Somebody asked the question. I thought it was a great question.
Sure, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle Washburn, District 2. I have a few questions. Where to start? You talked about jobs it's creating. Really, how many jobs are created by a data center?
Yeah, there's actually usually per facility, there can be 150 or so jobs. And so depending on how this would space out and how the land would end up here, you could be talking about thousands of jobs in this location at the end of the build out, which would be over many, many years.
So as I read through your proposal, it says you guys don't need any kind of sewer. I would think if you're having that many people you're going to be employed, you would need some kind of a sewer system.
Sure, through the zoning and land use process and
Okay,
working with
but it says, but that's why I'm asking, because it says in here you don't need any sewer system. But yet you're saying you're gonna need jobs and that doesn't match up, and that's why I'm asking.
Well, I think that's a fair question. I think,
Yeah.
obviously, we're gonna need to dispose of wastewater, and so I'm not sure the context of that statement
Yeah.
there. But that's a requirement we can't develop without having a wastewater disposal system, and that's what the zoning and the zoning process requires us to do that.
So that was one thing. The next, you had in big bold letters there that no water is used, yet you didn't tell us what exactly that system is. And all my research that I did, looking at how these systems are cooled, because it looked like a data storage center has to be maintained. It has to be cool. About 70 to 75 degrees is what I saw. So, you say no water, but I found nothing that does not use water. And where we've already taken water from Pinal County farmers out here, I want to make really sure if we redesignate something that we're not going to find water for you guys when we've already taken from what was needed out here. So can you be more clear on what that system is? Because I've seen wind cooled and the water cooled, but even with the wind cooled, that's using water. So you put no water, but you haven't told us what it is. And
Yeah,
I feel like I'd like you to be really clear on what you're going to use and not just say, hey, we're not gonna use water, because you can come back and say, well, it was our plan and our hope to not use water, but what we found is realistically we have to. So be really clear on what is this system called?
Sure, so my understanding of the way that it works is when you have a closed, and I will say, when we refer to a closed loop system, it's very common. I think you're gonna hear other applicants tonight that are planning on using the same technology. And so I'm not sure your research, and I'd be happy to try to get some more information later for you. But my understanding is that there are chemicals like Freon type of chemicals that can be used along with a certain amount of water that goes in and then maintained inside the system. And that's
So there is
my
some water
understanding.
then?
Correct. With
Okay,
much less
so
water.
it's not no water, it's just less water.
Well, it's less water than homes, it's less water than farms, and just about any other use you could put there. And it's significantly less water than my point is, it's not a water-cooled facility.
Okay, but that would take more electricity, to use a system like that, closed loop, yes, no?
I don't know if it would take more electricity, but we're building the electricity generation on site.
That's the plan. Yes, another one was, a couple more, the battery storage in a major flood zone. I don't see how that's responsible if these batteries leak and they're in a major flood zone, and those chemicals can be dispersed quite far then. Is there a plan for that?
Certainly.
That feels really scary to rezone this to allow that in a major flood zone.
And so through the process, we would have to remove the areas that the county requires us to remove from the flood zone. And if they're requiring us to remove the batteries from the flood zone, then we'll have to do that in order to develop them. So there are different ways to do that and again, this is a zoning and land use question that we fully anticipate having to deal with the county as we go through the process and evolve the project.
Sure, but I don't wanna say I'd like to rezone something if it's not safe, to even propose. That's why I'm asking these. The other one was, it stated that there's a wildlife habitat linkage corridor through here. How are you addressing that?
Yeah, I think
That's in bold.
Sure, and, through the process, we work with environmental consultants, with the Arizona Game and Fish Department, and with the county, and we fully anticipate a project like this gives us a lot of opportunity to work with corridors. It's not a residential community, for example, where you need, significant coverage to get density of homes. There are opportunities to spread things out, move things around, and maintain those corridors.
But in your answer, it's almost sounding like you haven't even looked into this, what that would look like. It's something you'll do down the road later, so.
I appreciate the question, and in the development process, we're at what we call the comprehensive plan stage. And so what we're here to do is find out if the county's interested in this project, and if the county is interested in this project, then we go to the next level of planning, where we go through the process and do these things and do these studies. And then if we come back for what is the zone, this isn't zoning, so we get no rights out of this. But when we come back for the zoning, then if we don't have an answer to, is this in a flood zone, is this not in a flood zone, where exactly are you putting this one piece of equipment, then we get voted down, we don't have a project, and we don't get the rights. But it's a sort of chicken and egg situation.
I don't know, because if I may like the project, but it's the wrong area, I would think you've done your homework on the area, and that's why I'm asking these. I wanna make sure it lines up.
Sure, and I know that the owner thinks that this is the right area for the reasons that I tried to talk about in my presentation.
Those are my questions, thank you.
Thank you.